good morning, good evening to you. We are very excited, Vishal and I are, too excited to talk about a couple of things that we have been doing with a lot of customers here. We have been seeing some trends happening. We have been seeing change in the requirements from a QA perspective, and how the shape of the industry, has been transforming. How the industry has been demanding the QA to be more data oriented. How the things have evolved from the .com side to having more mobile apps, and then LTE and 5G coming in, and then now we see the whole boom of mobile technologies. We have been seeing great trends and usage of mobile, and with mobile, even if you're a retail company, or if you're a medical company, if you're a company which is dealing in manufacturing and you have to have an application, the benchmark of an application performance is compared directly with the digital natives, right? So you're not competing against your competitors in the segment, you're competing with the Metas and the Googles of the world. And hence, it was very important to move away from the subjective, way of evaluating experience. We wanted to go more objective, setting up the right KPIs. We wanted to talk about, how you can really measure experience and then evolve that over the period of time. So without wasting a lot of time, I would just want to, introduce the panelists. Hi, my name is Kishan. I'm a global partner lead at HeadSpin. I've been doing this job for about 2.5 years. And successfully, we have been, having very amazing partnership, a phenomenal partnership with, all the technology companies, with a lot of, service integrated companies. And one of the strategic partnerships that I have been running for about 2.5, 3 years now is, Capgemini. It happens to be very special because I have spent a lot of time in Capgemini myself. I have been part of the Capgemini family. And today I'm speaking with Vishal Arora, who is a senior director who is based in Los Angeles, California. He brings about 26, 25 years and more of experience, working with the biggest logos, with the biggest companies, with the likes of Accenture, with the likes of Microsoft in different roles. His role has been in, large contributor in digital transformation, quality assurance. He has been one of the leaders to drive innovation for a lot of utility customers as well. And Vishal and I have happened to work on a couple of customers as well, where we have held, or used HeadSpin as a technology with Capgemini's expertise to solve a couple of challenges for them. And we'll be keen on talking about a couple of these pointers along with all today. And we'll be talking about some of the global norms. We'll be talking about a couple of industry trends. How is it shaping up? And then, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. But before we jump onto the topics of the day, Vishal, welcome to the webinar. Would you want to, I know I've been introducing you like this to everyone, but would you want to introduce yourself again?
Oh, thank you, Kishan. Thank you for inviting me and hosting this webinar. It's a subject very close to my heart as well. And good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and good evening, everyone on this webinar. Happy to be here and happy to discuss this subject as we progress through.
All right. So, Vishal, just a disclaimer to our audience. We were going to, have a very deep conversation about, HeadSpin and technology and all of that. But then we chose to make it more of a fireside chat and share some of our experiences with our customers that we have had, and, how we dealt with it, how we helped them out, and how success came in. So to everyone who has joined in, this is going to be more of fireside chat between, HeadSpin and Capgemini. Vishal and I are going to talk about it, and just try to set the expectations right. We'll have our talking session for the first 45 minutes, but we'll encourage a lot of comments. So if you have any questions, you can post those comments in between as well. Some of them we'll try to answer during the call. Some of them we'll try to answer, post our discussion.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So Vishal, one of the key points that we have been seeing as, from 2000s, where the .com usage was on boom. And then we had 2010 when the mobile came in and the applications were built in, the Android shaped up. And then we saw something very different in 2016 onwards, that the whole consumption of media, whole consumption of retail applications, any interaction digitally was moving towards mobile. And we have been, seeing that trend growing, and how it has been impacted is from a business perspective, how it has impacted different companies from different segments. How have you seen the change happening in your experience of more than, of over 25 years of experience? How have you seen that change evolve? Is it bigger than .com? Is it bigger than that, or is it smaller than that, or is it coming to the end, or it's going to grow even further? One of the studies which I found recently was how mobile consumption has been evolving, and one of the reports says that this year we are estimating 4.88 billion mobile users, and moving forward in 25 it's estimated to be 5.28 billion. So what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, it's a tremendous evaluation journey. I still remember my 25 years ago when I came first time. I didn't even have a mobile device, right? I'm talking about 1990. Then I got my first mobile, which was Ericsson phone, which was like a brick in your hand with very limited just a call capabilities, right? It didn't even support a text at that time. And then over the period of time, now you look at it, means all the mobile devices, it's an integral part of basically our life. We start our day and end our day with that, right? It has changed, it has significant impact on humans' lives. And it kind of has changed, right? It has changed the ecosystem, how we communicate, how we shop, how we work, right? It has touched every single part of our life that way. So that evolution journey has been very significant. And as you see the last few years, the connected devices and wearable devices, tablets and phones, and so many different varieties of that has kind of keep increasing and keep basically making a significant difference in how we live, how we commit, how we do each and every aspect of our life, right? So it is very important and very close to me, because this is going to continue to grow, right? The numbers I think you were sharing earlier mainly focus on the mobile devices and tablets, right? But when you incorporate all the connected devices across the globe, and connected device could be a healthcare devices, wearable devices. Just to give you a number, like in 2009, there were around like 2.9 billion devices. That grew from 2024 to probably around 10 billion. And now basically by 2050, the projection is that it will be greater than 100 billion devices. So it's not going to go away. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to basically means I'm actually excited to see what new technology and what new basically capabilities comes to the market in next few years. But yeah, it has significantly impacted uh, customer experience or user experience, or how people do things in their life, and for the business landscape, how they do the business, how basically they bring the people together, how means some of the businesses specifically run on the mobile devices nowadays. So it has a significant impact, and I see that it will continue to grow and move forward in the right direction.
Absolutely. Bang on. This reminds me of, one of the pointers that was a great marketing campaign back in 2010 when Nokia came in with, a tagline called connecting people. And that's what mobile has been doing. So, a quick jumping onto more of a contextual setting, right? How exactly AI and ML, which is the talk of the hour today, right? Everybody talks AI ML. And we have been also, leveraging AI ML in some capacity, data science in some capacities, machine learning models that, HeadSpin has also built up. How do you see, evolution of that transforming, how the consumption experience of mobile technologies being utilized? How do you see strategies of leveraging more data science oriented or data oriented schemes in your testing methodologies, or overall in mobile space? How do you see that trend moving, and what is the business hour? A couple of business challenges from a customer side, if you could just highlight, that would be more contextual for our audience to hear too.
Yeah, I mean, it again goes back to what we just discussed about the evolution of, the mobile technology and connected devices, right? Similar way, like if you look at early years of this mobile, means when we talk about testing, we test everything, right? We generally test everything, every aspect of it, but we are blindly doing the testing. Eventually, some of the more efficient way or more optimized way was needed. So people started talking about, hey, rather than if I have a 10,000 test cases, rather than every single time me running a 10,000 test cases, let me run a small subset, or let me run what is a relevant subset, or let me run the subset which is impacted by the changes in what I have done, right? And if you look at it, all this decision making comes from the data, right? So people started a data-driven decision making and start looking at, hey, these are the areas where I have most number of defects. Let me run more tests in this area, right? Or let me improve my test cases and things. So they started making a data-driven decision. And with the evolution of it has progressed through more and more evolution where we started doing some analytics and things like that. And with the boom in AI and machine learning and everything, what it allows you to do is it not just allows you to basically extract the insights that you are looking for if you have a good quality data set, but it also basically allows you to do a level of, it gives you an insight which actually you might not be even looking for, right? When you go through this unsupervised learning data insights from these models, you can find some of the patterns that you think, hey, I should have also done this or that, right? So it's a very important part of it. So I do see that first, having that data is very important, and AI and ML has improved our ability to basically understand or extract the insights from these data sets and allow us to do a better decision making, right? And better decision making could be based on the data available, but also better decision in terms of predictive analytics, right? Means there are tools and technologies in the market. Like if I have done a pretty good job in terms of maintaining my data around my releases and also having basically full traceability between those data, depending on what changes I have made, I could literally predict that where I will find the defects, approximately how many defects I will find, right? And it allows me to basically also do the fine tuning on what quality I want to do, and for to achieve that quality level, what are the things I need to test, right? So that predictive analytics and everything is very, very powerful. Also, with the help of AI and machine learning, there is lots of improvement in test automation, like intelligent test case generation, intelligent test automation generation, some of the optimization capabilities, some of the self-healing capabilities, right? Also, you can do a faster and smarter testing with the prioritization and optimization across the board. Then you can kind of also look into the areas like performance, security, user experience, and many more areas where this insight has allowed you to do a better, faster, and more efficient way of testing, which saves significant time for an organization, which allows them to use that cost saving or that optimized time to focus on other high priority actions or items. I hope I answer your question.
No, no, absolutely. This was absolutely very contextual and context setting, because the next slide that I'm going to talk about is how Headspin brings the differentiator in the market, how we are handling it. So Headspin is you've been using it, so it's for the audience. Headspin is a data analytics, data science platform which lets you run your user journeys before even the release on the right environment, which is the environment as close as a real user. So think about your test environment as close as your real user environment, and then you run your user journeys pre-release. And then we have contextualized, or we have put in the right KPIs to make your experience more objective than being subjective here. So what we do, Vishal and all here, is what we do is we let you run your pre-release and post-release applications on Headspin infrastructure. And when you do that, We analyze each and every section of your uh, performance on different parameters. These could be operating system, or it could be packet level detail, or it could be UI level, or it could be anything which is making your consumer not having a great experience. Just imagine if you're using one application which loads up a little late, then your test case is bad. How good your test case analyzes every test case of yours, every user journeys of yours, and tells you how much you have to go to the market and use 55, 60 models that are built so far. And every session goes those 55 plus ML models. Now these ML models are need to find out issues on that, and brings me to one of the slides that is here. I would want you to look at the centerpiece of the slide, where every test journey that you run on HeadSpin is actually analyzed, and there. Are you able to hear me now? Is it breaking for people? Hello, can you hear me, Vishal?
Kishan, we have a little bit of break. Means at least I saw that your voice was breaking a little bit. I'm not sure if the other
Oh wow,
user.
is it still breaking for us?
No, this is better now.
So this is exactly the kind of issue I'm talking about, right? The software is right, everything is right, but because of my network conditions, you guys cannot hear me so well. This is a real example of having a poor experience, right? So HeadSpin identifies such experience pre-production. So every time your build is ready to go into the market or not, you every time know what are the areas engineering needs to work on. Even if your case passes, you have the recording of the screen, along with the data KPIs, which are 103 data KPIs we capture. So per sub-second basis, you can imagine if I collect 130 data KPIs, for a second we do 13,000. And if your user journey goes for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, which is very usual today, then it's plethora of data that we are creating out of it. This data gets then uh, it goes through the AI engine, the ML engine that we have. And these ML models are basically designed to find such glitches. And it not only finds out those glitches, but also tells you how to rectify them, where the problem lies. So your RCA is basically not days, but seconds. This is what we do. We also enable you to benchmark your experience over different dashboards. So your business, your QA, your program manager, your product manager, as well as your CIOs and CTOs can use the same data and see a different picture for themselves. So we give you alerts and vouchers every time it fails for your user. So very proactively, you will know what exactly went wrong in production as well. And all of this can be done manually or through automation on a variety of endpoints. These endpoints could be, mobile, tablet, and all the connected devices that Vishal you just talked about. We do all of it remotely. So you sitting in Los Angeles today can operate a device in Bangalore, and I sitting in Bangalore can actually operate a device in California right at the moment with zero glitch. This is what we do.
Excellent.
So Vishal, you've been working with variety of customers, and with your experience of 2.5 so far, what do you think is the new challenges that organizations are facing in terms of testing? While mobile is the new one coming up and the consumption is so high, what do you see as challenges, and what are the roles of AIML models in addressing these challenges? It is more contextual now for the audience to know now.
Yeah. So when there are challenges with the mobile device testing is a one part of the basically a focus area, right? But when you talk about a larger ecosystem, there are separate set of additional challenges also when we talk about the testing, right? Ideally, means from the business standpoint, if you look at it, all the most of the time when you talk about the business goals, it always translates into a cost, quality, and time. And nowadays, probably we could also add a spin of experience into it, right? So if we are talking about achieving a business goal, means how I can improve the quality, how I can ship or release the qualitative product, which is very important, how I can do it faster and how I can do it in a cost efficient manner, right? And yes, mobile testing and everything is always gonna have a cost associated with that. But if you are doing it at that scale, then the benefit that you get are exponential, right? When we talk about the challenges, if you look at the ecosystem, right, for the especially specifically mobile devices, I'm not talking in general with testing right now, but like for example, device fragmentation, right? Variety of devices across the board. When you talk about, let's just take an example of only mobile devices and tablets, not going to the IoT connected devices or any other devices. Also, each and every device has a different operating system that they might be using, whether it's an Android, whether it's an iOS, whether it's something else, right? And also the different platforms within that, right? Then you have a network variety. Some devices work on a Wi-Fi, some are basically 2G, 4G, 3G, 4G, 5G compatible, right? So you need to basically think about that as well, because when you are testing the devices, those basically kind of when you performance testing is also one part of it, because some of this different network variety impacts how devices will perform, right? So you need to focus on that. This device are integrated with multiple applications, different backend systems. So testing, it also introduced a set of challenges. Then when we talk about performance, it's again simulating basically those network conditions and things like that. Performance, when we talk about it, also introduced the notion of batteries, memories, and things like that. So some of the hardware configuration is very important. Then security aspect is another on the devices as well, because if you are using these devices in a corporate setting, corporations are more basically enforcing the different securities onto that and things like that. Then also look at the ecosystem, right? Nowadays, means I was just watching something yesterday, and there was a Tesla Model 3 example somebody gave me where it has some brake-related performance problem, and it wasn't braking in a required time frame, and all Tesla needed to do was the software update. It's a kind of a connected device story, but if you look at it, the reason why I brought that example, because in mobile devices, how many updates and patches we get, right? Most of the time it comes. So now testing with those updates and patches also introduce the more challenges, because more often they come, right? Those, when I used to work for Microsoft, we used to release the product every 18 months or 20 months. Nowadays, when people do the multiple releases in a day, right? So ecosystem has changed, right? Then
In
user
fact,
experiences, real devices,
to that
all
point,
introduce the challenges.
absolutely. And in fact, contributing to that point, every single release that you put out, even if it's a smaller release or a large release or a big release, right? You have to do a lot of regression, making sure that your old functionalities are not gone bad, right?
Yes.
And that's why we see a lot of AI and ML coming in, automation coming in, making sure that, you identify and make sure that your application
Yeah.
health is secure.
So if you look at this, right, means the reason why I listed all these challenges, because it's not just the one thing that you need to test.
Right.
Means when you talk about a mobile testing, it's not just putting the mobile in your hand and start testing. You are testing so many different variety of things, right? That's where the automation comes into the picture. That's where the parallel execution comes into the picture. Some of these capabilities, which basically HeadSpin provides as well. That is why for one of the client, when you and I started working, we choose that because it enables us to do all this type of testing in an automated manner, right? And AI plays a very critical role, because think about doing a manual testing with your hand, but now I need to run a 10 different type of tests, right? Yes, I might have an automation and things like that, but it will take a significant amount of time. So I want to do it in a more intelligent way, more smarter way, in a more optimized way. And that's where AI and machine learning model helps me, because what it does is that it allows me to analyze the data from past releases, data from the changes I'm making, data from all the previous executions and things like that, right? Based on that data, it gives me a more insights into what I should be testing, how much testing I need to do, right? It just depends on how what model you have developed, but how what I need to do, what basically the compatibility test level of compatibility testing I need to do across the OS, different platforms, different browsers, different type of devices, right? So AI and machine learning is very, very important in many ways. One, it allows me to basically do the insight driven testing. It allows me to improve my quality by letting me know that which areas I need to focus on. It allows me to basically optimize my test to basically tell me that how quickly and smartly I can get that done, right? So and also it allows me to basically identify the areas where I should be focusing on more, right? Which is very important part of it. Like for example, we have a production log for design and develop a model which analyzes that, and you will see that where exactly your errors are or where exactly the challenges are which are logged, which your customer is facing, so you can improve your test case areas and things like that, right? So I do see that AI and machine learning based basically data insights that you capture will allow you to do a better job in terms of your mobile testing or any type of testing, but especially when it comes to a mobile, it's significantly helpful.
Absolutely, Vishal. And this is exactly the point you just touched based on. It's not just the testers anymore, it's the product engineers, the monitoring comes in, the logs capturing comes in, production mapping comes in. And this is exactly how we help organizations today, Vishal. So readiness to go out in the market is pre-production, and utilization comes from all the 4 or 5 different pillars of your, complete agile cycle, your DevOps cycle, right? We help them do all the functionality test, but when you do the functionality test, we run advanced data analytics on the platform and tell you identified areas of improvement and tell you how good or bad your build is to go out. But when it goes out, we do a lot of proactive monitoring on your production environment as well. So just like your 100,000 or multiple thousand users, we also have some of the simulated users out there who eventually use it on regression basis. So there are continuous number of scripts which are run on HeadSpin and on your application, and it's continuously running. So if something fails for your actual customer, it fails for HeadSpin also. And HeadSpin will tell you very proactively the areas, the performance improvement degraded, and the areas it may fall short, it is falling short, and how you can optimize that. So it's very proactive measure that we are doing. Imagine a holiday program for a retail customer, right? This is the kind of value we bring in. And we have covered a lot of these pointers already in place. So the future of mobile application testing is what we just talked about, Vishal, in the last pointer as well. So I just move on for the interest so that people can ask questions.
So I will add
how can we have
I would like to add one
go
more
ahead,
point
Vishal.
to that, right? Means we hear lots of terms, right? The risk-based testing or data-driven testing or self-healing part of it, right? But think about this, right? Means that when we talk about AI, machine learning models, and now the capability of generative AI, right? Yes, it's not going to be that mature initially. It takes time. It takes basically a good amount of time, good data set, and good basically enhancements that you need to make in your model to generate a more efficient model, which gives you where the efficacy is very high, right? So and accuracy is very high. But think about this: that the future where you have an engine where you just provide the requirements, and from that requirement, leveraging all the past data and everything, and using a generative AI, it can create a test cases, it can create a test data, it can create a test automation, and you have encapsulated everything in an automated engine. Everything can be done on its own, and it will and introducing a and this is not the reality right now, so I will be very clear on that. But some component exists today, right? At any, I mean, I do see
Yeah.
that as we move into a future, more and more automation, more and more optimization, more and more insight-driven testing will happen, where most of them will be automated. Still, human intervention is required when it comes to, providing a supervision and kind of also supporting the learning aspect of those models and things like that. But I think that it's an exciting new world, and it's going to keep improving and keep getting better. And that's where some of these technologies, like for example, what you have in terms of providing the capability to do the testing on a real-time devices, and your basically engine analytics engine in the background, which basically captures the data and provides those insights to do the better testing. I think I'm pretty sure that you guys might have a roadmap to keep adding more and more features as we move forward, which will help organizations. But it's an exciting new world, and it's keep gonna get improving and keep getting better.
Absolutely, Vishal. Vishal, we are actually committed to make our platform much more stable. That's priority one. We have already, built up a platform which is the best in the market today. We have made the most secure platform, and hence, we were the choice where we came in picture and we talked about it. So that's one. We are working on a couple of prototypes as well, and in the coming months, right? And when I'm talking, I'm not talking very far off. I'm talking, Q1 25. We're having some major releases coming out. We are having some exciting news coming out. So I'll keep you posted on that, right? So I'll make sure that you are the first one to be enabled on it, and we use all of these features for your customers as well. Uh, Vishal, I wanted to touch point, a couple of things. While you talked about a real inventory, HeadSpin actually has only and only bare metal devices. We do not have any emulators or simulators. So we make sure that all of these devices are as good as uh, a real user environment. We have these physical phones out there which are robust. The kind of device coverage is immense, and then we do a lot of routine health check on these devices, make sure that uptime is very accurate, and backup and infrastructure is uh, from a data side, in the data center, right? Uh, there's very low downtime, there's negligible downtime, and make sure that it performs at the peak. One of the things, I think implementing the testing technologies and choosing the right technology frame is what you've already answered. So I'll just jump onto the security aspects, Vishal, because this is very important for all the utility customers, for all the enterprise customers, for all the banks out there, right? So they do not want to let any of their applications go out in the market because it's a very secured application, and it has to do things with personal data. It has to do things with transactions, payments, and whatnot. And we have been working with a couple of banks in India. We have been using working with the largest banks out there in the world as well. They have been leveraging HeadSpin as a platform for testing out. They're doing a lot of pass and fail on different device farms, but when it comes to maturity of their application, they come on HeadSpin. So I want to hear from you because you're a first user on it, right? So what are the things that you felt were more important, and why HeadSpin stood out of all the solutions out there for you? If you could just elaborate what is the need security in today's world from a testing perspective, and how do you see HeadSpin filling that gap?
No, thank you for that question. That is a very important area when it comes to the corporate customers, right? And also the sensitivity of that basically depends on the industry that you are in, right? Security is the utmost priority for any organization out there, but then there are certain domains where it even becomes the more it even becomes the very high priority. I mean, security is always high priority, but in some of those domains, it is basically not just one of the requirement or not just one of the priority. It's just a way of doing the business for that, right? Like for example, utility customers. One of my customer where you and I got engaged means they are governed by some of the regulations, and they need to be in a regularity compliance and things like that. So there are lots of different things, right? Especially when you talk about utilities, means they are basically target of any type of terrorism or cyber security attacks and things like that. So and because they support the day-to-day's life, they support the infrastructure which we leverage in day-to-day's life, whether it's electricity or whether it's gas and things like that, right? So they protect their network very, very well. Cyber security aspect, and any other type of that is very important for them. Like for example, for us, for this customer, we need to make sure, means anytime we do something or bring some new technologies or anything, we basically do multiple internal reviews for enterprise architect teams, multiple reviews with the cyber security team, and you've been engaging some of those, right? In fact, you have both the solution on premise and in cloud, and we choose to go with on premise because we cannot put data in the cloud, right? So some of those challenges are there as well. And after reviewing all of that, where HeadSpin was the basically right choice for us because it allows us to fulfill all those security requirements that we needed to fulfill, right? And it allows, and one of our prime requirement was basically to make sure that security compliance is there. We have an on-premise solution. The solution allows us to do the concurrent testing, solution that allows us to basically do the testing on a real-time devices, right? So so when we look at all these parameters, means it was no brainer to basically leverage the technology, and that's where we started the journey. And now as you see that we have already implemented that, team is using that, and I do see that we started at the smaller scale, and I do see that as we move forward, as the requirement progresses, the scale is going to be higher, much higher, because our client uses the mobile technologies, especially in the field, especially in-house as well with their employees. So I see no reason why it can't expand. But as answering to your question, those were the reasons why we choose HeadSpin, and it's working out well for us.
Hey, thanks. And a follow-up question, right? So how difficult was it, once we, started up, how easy or difficult was it for all of us to get the implementation done, to get it, up and running? Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so how was your experience enabling and getting onboarded on HeadSpin and getting this inside the ecosystem for customer, and eventually how did it come up? So your experience overall from a HeadSpin
Yeah.
perspective, support perspective, we would just want to hear the feedback in public, for the first time.
Yeah. Well, you don't want me to do that. I'm just kidding. No, it has been a pleasant experience. Yes, there were some delays and things like that, but I don't think that was related to HeadSpin. That was basically, even though we have gone through the architecture review and internal security reviews, once you get actually the physical device, there are again further requirements of doing a penetration testing and things like that. So we needed to basically navigate through the client ecosystem, which took us a little bit of time in setting it up. But from the HeadSpin standpoint, means we have everything that we needed in terms of devices, in terms of support, in terms of all the other requirement. Means I think one area where and I think it's you guys already have it. It's just that when we jump started that, we needed to basically move much faster pace, right? And it was the requirement that we did not set the expectation in the beginning, and people's calendars always gets full, right? So I do understand that. So it took us like 2-3 weeks of time to get at least few things settled, but it was expected in many ways. But overall, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think one area I would suggest, or maybe it's just a feedback, is that if client is basically like, especially the customer that I have, right, where we need to align with their internal things. I think some level of self to do guidance will be more helpful to them because they want to experiment on things. But overall, I think it has been a great experience, great partnership across the board. And once the customer is pleased, we are actually making a good progress with that. And things are going in the right direction for now.
Hey, thank you so much for the comments, Vishal. In fact, a couple of learnings that we have had as well, are incorporated, and we have, made a lot of tremendous changes out of those learnings as well. Jumping onto one of the questions that Ashish has asked us, it's a very interesting question that, I would like to go first and then, would seek your comments as well. And then we'll open up for, the audience to ask questions. The question is, can you please share some insights on, how AI tools are not incapable of making mistakes, that AI should also, AI can also make mistakes, and how, and, can produce false positive and, false negative scenarios, which may end up requiring manual validation of mobile testing as well. So, I'll answer this from a coverage perspective, Ashish. One, these AI/ML models, right? They have been built on for many years. On HeadSpin, we have billions of execution happening every month basis, right? So how really AI evolves is from the learning perspective. So when you learn more, when you execute more, your hypothesis, if you must have heard of, chronograph map. So you create a hypothesis and then you execute a lot of data with the run data, then you have validation data, your test data, and then the graph changes, the hypothesis changes, and that's the ML model we are talking about. So HeadSpin has been, helping from day one, the biggest trend setters of, experience. I can just mention the likes of Metas and the Googles, the companies who have been, changing and reshaping the world. We have been helping them from the beginning. So we really have the experience of, making our AI model very, very strong to not do that. But yes, accepted, there could be chances that, out of 100,000 test cases, 5 could fail, and that could require a manual intervention as well. But can you imagine from doing 100,000 test cases manually versus doing 5 manually? That's what we are talking about, right? It saves you a lot of money, it saves you a lot of efforts, it saves you time, because if you do not have a release going out tomorrow, you might lose out the business, right? So that's what we are talking about, Ashish. And yes, there are scenarios where you may run one of your test journeys. So what you're seeing on the screen is actually a normal user journey where you open up the app, select some items on the cart, and then you check out, right? AI engine is basically running all the analytics and telling you what's good or what's bad. But your test policy, which is, I'll click on 1, I'll click on 2, I'll click on 3, and then I'll type in 4, and then I'll, do the transaction. That remains same. So while your pass and fail remains same, if it fails, why did it fail? We'll tell you. And also we'll tell you how good or bad it was. So for one of your test case functional that you run, we run about 60, 65 test cases on our behalf, and then tell you how good or bad it is. Right? So Ashish, I hope this much must have answered your question. And anybody, now the room is open for the next 15 minutes. Anybody who has any question, feel free to ask. And then we'll be happy to answer it on your behalf. And if somebody is posting on LinkedIn, I would request the coordinator to post these questions here as well. So yeah, I mean, for the next 15 minutes, please feel free to type in your questions. All right. Vishal, by the time people ask this question, do you have some questions for us?
Yeah, now what you just mentioned, what Ashish was asking earlier, right, means there are two key things to understand here, right? Means when we talk about AI and machine learning, right? First thing is that data part is very important. It's a garbage in, garbage out. If you have a garbage data, your AI models are not gonna give you the better result, right? So having a good data set any given day, as we even progress in the future, the data that you have is, and how qualitative and how sanitized that data is, very important. The second part is that accuracy and efficacy of the model, right? And based on the qualitative data, how those models are trained, and not necessarily you are going to have the best results to start with. Maybe your accuracy of your model is 60%, 70%, right? The more and more you use, the more and more basically you go through, training the model cycles and things like that, the better and better result you will get, right? Because it goes through that self-learning mechanism as well, right? So AI is not going to solve, even if you have AI and machine learning model, doesn't mean that it does everything that you want to start with, right? Currently, we are in a phase, and this is just my personal opinion, so I will not quote it as the way of life, but currently, I believe that AI and machine learning, when we talk about it, we are in a segment, or I would say we are in that journey of that AI where you say that it's a nirvana state. We are in that prioritization and optimization phase, right? Like for example, if let's say you have a new project and you need to generate the test cases, you use generative AI to generate the test cases based on your requirement. Now, traditionally, if you need to write 5,000 test cases, it would have taken you maybe a couple of weeks just making it up, right? Depends on what you need to do. Maybe it could take months, right? But if I have a better model and if I have a better written use cases, my AI model can write those test cases for me within minutes. So I save significant amount of time with, let's say that just the benchmark for that, let's say it took me a month to write 5,000 test cases. It might take more, let's say 2 months, right? Here, theoretically, I'm basically generating those test cases in a few minutes, let's say half an hour. I got all the test cases that I needed, right? Now, you already save a 2 months of time because things are done in half a day. You can, and I'm just making this number up as well, that let's say that this test cases you generated are only 50% valid, other 50% are not. But now you are spending your more time in reviewing this and then basically bridging the gap or making a course correction into it, which will take maybe another, let's say that 29 and a half days, right? And I'm just using this number for a reason. So 29 and a half days to review and correct those test cases, half a day to generate it, still a 1 month. You already save a 1 month of time, right? So yes, right now you might not have the highest level of accuracy where you can say that one click and done. No, you will get a better optimized result, better, and an AI model will actually give you results that you have not even thought about sometimes, right? Because it sees those patterns. So it's always helpful, and as we start keep using it, as this model gets more mature, the accuracy will continue to increase. Where you were spending at 29 and a half days, maybe next time you will spend 25, next time you will spend 10, 20, and it just keeps improving that, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that was one point. We have a couple of more questions. One is, how does HeadSpin's platform differentiate itself from other mobile testing solutions available in the market? That's a question to me rather than to you, Vishal. But you being a customer, I'll be happy to hear your opinion out as well. So, positioning perspective, from a feature comparison, from a deployment comparison, we do on-premise, we do on cloud. We have more number of data centers than anybody else today. So we operate in about 65 data centers around the globe. We have the much more stable platform in terms of device availability, making sure that your runs are smoother. And then we have something which is the smart analytics that we have been just talking about, right? So the differentiator is the AI/ML models. AI detecting issues on your behalf, while your tester is only doing the functional testing. That's what we differentiate in. We are if you just want to think about how are we differentiated, then we are basically device farms and testing and AI/ML on steroids all together. While we don't do one thing, we do multiple things. That's how we do it. Another interesting question that has come is, how do you see the future of mobile testing evolving with, advancements in AI and machine learning? Yes, just the way Vishal talked about, right? So we saw, how AI has been being used to identify issues. There have been self-healing scripts. There have been a lot of change that is happening towards the mobile space. Earlier, the website and the .coms were the priority market. The thick applications and the packaged applications were the market. The SAPs and the Salesforce were the markets. But all of this is now coming in mobile. Now, with all the consumption coming in mobile, there will be a lot of focus of different players out there, shaping up how mobile could be more web app, more lighter, uh, could load up absolutely faster. The consumption could be much, much better. And then, with the new technologies of, image generation coming in picture, how it has been, shaping up, we will have to do a lot of testing and we have to be more responsible with AI/ML, right? Because there are a lot of deep fakes coming in. We have to be more cognizant of all these things. So yes, the future is something that nobody can predict from today. This is what I will say, but it's going to be beautiful. That's what we believe in. I think Rajiv has asked a question. How do we typically justify investments from intelligent AI-backed solution to a client who is, um, I have to scroll a little bit. Who is their initial maturity stage? Yeah, so yeah, that's a great point to speak up, Rajiv. But let's just try to cover that up here. To answer that question again, how do we differentiate? Is every company will be in a different maturity model. Some would be just building up the application. Some could be just building up the automation regression suite. Somebody would be in a different stage to make experience a priority. So there are some intelligent companies which do all of this hand in hand. They make sure their priority is experience while they do other things as well. So this is how we come in picture. We are on every different stage of maturity model. We come in, we are the platform of help. Though when you are just developing the scripts, we are the right platform to make sure that we let you run the automation, but also be very cognizant of the experience side of equations. From an investor's perspective as well, just think about, right? Any retail company today would be spending, a decent size enterprise retail would be spending, in double digits of millions every year, because that's the least they have to spend. While what we do is we move their capex to an opex, right? So a lot of bug detection happens very quickly. So they do not have to invest a lot on the inventory, people, regions, creating different labs. One of the examples I'll talk about, right? There's a retail customer in the US. Again, Capgemini and HeadSpin has this common customer. So they had a program where they wanted to launch 600 retail stores. All 600 retail stores, you would be using mobile POS solutions, right? So that's a huge program. And how HeadSpin came in as one of the priority solutions was to do it faster, do it cheaper, and make sure that, from a services component, it saves them a lot of money. So we were not just a device farm to them. We were a chosen solution to make sure that, 600 labs, they cannot test, right? They will have to create a simulated lab, which will have the right environment. We created a mini device farm within their own premises. All the testing was done remotely from India. And then the whole mobile program ran for 2 years and they were able to launch all 600 labs with mobile application out there with HeadSpin. This is the power of HeadSpin we are talking about. We are not talking about only Android. We are not talking about only iOS. We're talking about POS devices in place where, you get very less number of developers. Then, the adaptability is very different, and not all players in the market, no player in the market, in fact, does zebra device testing as good as we do. So this is how we differentiate ourselves. One other question, Vishal, I think, how do we support the UI UX testing? Uh, Again, a question for me, but would you want to chime in? Would you want to take this one? Because you have seen so much of demos from me. Would you want to take this up?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the technology that you are using, right? Means when you talk about the UI and UX testing, right? Means HeadSpin provides the infrastructure and environment where you can do the testing, but which other technology you are using in collaboration with HeadSpin to support that, that's critical. In our case, we use Tricentis Tosca to basically do that, which has basically the combination has worked very well for us. So it just you need to figure out what your customers' needs are, what their priorities are, what tools they have in their ecosystem. If they don't already have it, then what basically their appetite for investment is, their appetite for whether using a open source versus the commercial products and things like that. So there are lots of considerations that you need to go through. And same and similar to, like, when you talk about this consideration, what Rajiv was asking earlier, right? When we talk about an investment, it again kind of aligns with the similar thought process, or similar basically things that you need to explore, that what are the tangible and intangible benefits that I'm looking for, or tangible and intangible basically value that I want to capture out of this, right? For example, tangible mean what is my IRR, ROI, right? What basically ROI I'm going to get out of doing this investment in this specific project. But then intangible will be that how it allows me to support my business goals, how it allows me to basically achieve a better result for my annual business goals that I have across the board, and things like that. So it's just you need to create a right business case with right justification, where you can showcase all this basically benefits, return of investment, all the additional benefits. And once you have the right story, it becomes much easier to get the approval, because if you have a right level of ROI, I don't think that leadership will have any reason not to approve it.
Absolutely. So Vishal, this brings us to the last minute of the session, and I did not realize that we have just hit an hour. Such an interesting conversation, and we have had experience of working together, and it is always amazing to speak to you, Vishal, listening to your insights and listening to your user stories, your customer stories, and it's like an institution. I mean, moreover, you're like a mentor to me, as well as with HeadSpin, you're one of the guiding stars to us in the partnerships. Thank you so much for all the support and trust in the technology that we have built up. And we'll be keen on listening to your feedbacks more and more often, Vishal. So, to you again for a closing statement, Vishal, would you want to conclude this so that we can, just let the people go, and then, we can close the session. But, we would want to close it with your closing terms rather than mine.
No, so first of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone who has joined the call today. It's a very interesting area, and I think that it's not going anywhere. It's gonna keep growing. I think everybody should, if the mobile devices is part of their business, they need to basically start basically putting together a strategy and plan for that. I know we had an hour. If anybody wants to chat, any questions they have, I'm happy to answer offline or connect. Please do reach out. Happy to do so. But again, thank you, Kishan, for inviting me and for this wonderful session.
I'm so humbled right now that it's a pleasure for us to have you, Vishal, here. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Vishal. Thank you so much, audience. Thank you so much, everybody, spending an hour with us, having all these conversations. And we would love to come back with a couple of quick good stories with a lot of names which we could not take today, but we'll bring a lot of stories to you moving forward.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. This is Kishan Tiwari, and you can reach out to me and Vishal anytime on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to guide you and help you out.
Thank you.